to, all right. So we are going to be recording so that way we're able to send out the recording following the session. So thank you all for coming today to our webinar. So we are extremely excited to have everyone here and for you to learn more about NU London and the NU London experience that we have coming up. And so I'm joined by a number of colleagues, but my name is Jake Goldblum. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the Associate Director for Global Network Pathway Programs for London. And I work closely with the on-site team in delivering the program. And one of my main roles is that I'm the primary contact for parents. So if parents have questions or anything like that, you can shoot those to me rather than to the staff on the team, and I'll be able to kind of help liaise and answer those questions. So if that comes up, please feel free to let me know. And I'm extremely excited to get to work with everyone this year. Excited to help you all in your process. And with that, I wanted to turn it over to my colleague, Robin, and get us started with content.
Thanks, Jake. Hi, everyone. Very much welcome to your pre-departure webinar for Global Scholars. My name is Robin Levy. I'm the Global Experience Manager here in London. Some of you may have met me when we were at the Boston pre-departure orientation, but a very, very warm welcome. I just want to say right from the offset that we're extremely excited for you to join us here in London. And I hope that this will come through, and that you equally will be just as excited as we share all this information with you. The aim of this webinar is to just provide an overview of what's in store for you, the support we provide, information on arrivals and academics and your residences, and just generally give you some overarching information for the programme. As Jake said, we are recording, so you can refer back to this after the webinar. Equally, we have a Q&A function on the webinar, so you can ask us questions as we go, and we'll answer them directly. But equally, we'll have time at the end for questions, so we can answer some of your questions that you throw into us to the wider audience as well. So please do send your questions our way, and we'd be happy to answer them. Next slide, if you can, please, Neve. Lovely. So this is just showcasing some of the staff that are here to speak with you today. Some of us will be presenting and some others will be behind the scenes answering your questions. Again, there might be some familiar faces here, or you might have interacted with some departments already, but this is just the scale of who's here to chat with you today. Fabulous. So I'm now going to pass it across to my colleague, Catherine, to talk about visas.
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine Baker and I am the Visa and Immigration Compliance Manager at the London campus. I'm going to start off by talking to you about preparing for departures. So that's mainly going to be the visa aspect of this presentation. We're going to get all of the dry stuff out of the way first so you can enjoy all the living in London and student experience pieces next. So if I can have the next slide, please. Thank you. So this slide is mainly focusing on visa requirements for non-visa nationals. So that includes nationals of USA, and it also includes all other nationals who don't require a visa to come and study the Global Scholars Program in London. So the most important thing that you need to remember is that you have to declare that your study is the main purpose of your visit if you are stopped by an immigration official at the airport. Most of you will be able to use the e-gates if you have a passport with a chip in it. You can go straight through the e-gates. Other nationals will have to see a border officer when you arrive at the airport in London, and you have to declare that study is the main purpose of your visit. On your app status check portal, you have an SVV guide, and that will outline all of the documentation that you should include in your hand luggage. Independent travelers who are not traveling with the group flights are advised not to make plans to travel to the UK, to London via Ireland. So that is airports like Shannon, Dublin. This is because we have a common travel area with Ireland. And if you travel via Ireland, you will not be able to get the correct visa stamp in your passport upon arrival in London. Independent travelers, I request that you complete the flight booking Global Scholars Google form that has been sent out to you in the past couple of days. You should complete that by the 11th of August. All of the instructions about that form is on the form itself, and that has been sent to your Northeastern email addresses. If you're in a region where you can't access Google Forms, please send your itinerary to visa@nulondon.ac.uk. And next slide, please. Visa nationals, you require a visa before traveling to the UK. You need to complete 2 Google Forms by Friday, and that is the flight booking form, which I just spoke about. So that's purely for the independent travelers only. And also the visa Google form, which requests you to upload your study visa, sorry, your visit visa to the Google form. And again, if you can't access Google Forms in your region, please email your visa and your flight itinerary to visa@nulondon.ac.uk. It's important for visa nationals to remember that they can't travel to the UK until they have received their visa. Also, to declare that study is your main purpose of your visa to the immigration officer. You will be required to visit a border officer when you arrive. You won't be able to use the e-gates. And again, please check the SVV guide on your app status check account for the documentation that you should have in your hand luggage when traveling to London. And just another reminder that all independent travelers should not travel to London via the Republic of Ireland. Next slide, please. I'm going to quickly go through the GDPR policy. So GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation, and that is our information privacy regulation here in the UK. So what the General Data Protection Regulation means is that we, Northeastern University London, cannot discuss any academic or personal matters with parents or families without the specific confirmation or permission from the student to do so. So that includes everything from your housing, if you need to discuss something about your academics. If you would like your parent to be able to talk to the university about any situation, we need written permission to do so. And we do ask all students that they make their parent or legal guardian aware of this constraint before traveling to the UK. Next slide, please.
Hello, everyone. So my name's Neve and I work for Residence Life. So I'm just going to start by talking to you a bit about living abroad and some things to consider that will crop up. So one of the first things we want to let you know about is your mobile phone while abroad. It's really important when you're moving to a new country to make sure that you have a working phone with the ability to text, call and use data. And with that, we recommended some mobile phone networks which are good and reliable, like giffgaff, EE, Vodafone and O2. And obviously you'll want to stay in touch with home, so we do recommend that you set up things like Zoom and Skype and FaceTime, so you have all those things in place to keep in touch with family. In terms of banking, You do not need a UK bank to study on the Global Scholars Programme, but we do recommend that you notify your bank or your credit card companies before you travel. And in using your US bank accounts, please do be aware that there are potential transaction fees and cost conversions to consider. And then finally, important points on medication and prescriptions. Some medications are controlled substances or have different brand names in the UK. So we really recommend that you bring the original bottle and prescription in your carry-on with you. And if possible, to bring a semester-long supply, because this will make things a lot easier, as it may not be as simple of a process to get a new prescription, new supply whilst you're here. And then obviously with that, to not ship medications. Moving on to thinking about what you will need to bring, we really want to emphasize that whatever you pack, you will have to carry onto the coach and then from the coach to your residence hall. So you'll need to, not bring more suitcases than you can manage yourself. And remember that things can be brought whilst you're here. You may already know, but the UK's weather is notoriously unpredictable. So please make sure you bring things like raincoats and appropriate shoes. And also remember and bear in mind that it's very rare in the UK for shops and undergrounds and subway to be air conditioned. So you may also feel hot as well. So it's very likely that you want to bring a mix of things and or buy things when you're here in terms of clothing. Onto adapters and converters. So adapter allows you to use your devices from the US in British outlets. If you're wanting to travel to Europe as well, when you're in the UK, we recommend purchasing a universal adapter. And also please check your electrical goods, things like hair straighteners and blow dryers, because they may require a converter, as the electricity supply in England is 240 volts. Moving on to storage options, any London and our partnered residence halls are unable to hold or store your luggage prior to your arrival date on the programme. So if you're travelling to the UK or Europe before September the 3rd, please look into storage options close to your assigned residence hall. There are plenty of them. And also please note that anything you mail to the residence hall before you have checked in will be returned to the sender. So please don't order lots of things in advance. When you're considering storage, we have some options here, both of which have multiple locations across London. So you'll be able to find one close to your assigned residence hall. So this is Safe Store and Radical Luggage. And we also suggest looking at something like My Baggage if you want to ship additional suitcases whilst you're here. I will now pass on to Robin, who will talk about arrivals.
Thanks, Neve. If we could, thank you, that's great. So at Heathrow Airport, you should know that your arrivals date is Saturday the 2nd of September for the Global Scholars Programme. Now, you cannot check into your accommodation early, so your check-in date is Saturday the 2nd of September. That doesn't mean that you can't come to the UK a few days early, but you just can't physically check into your accommodation until that date, so do be aware of that. Now, as we arrive, as the group flights arrive at Heathrow, we'll have staff based at Heathrow Airport to greet you and to put you onto the schedules or buses to the relevant accommodation. The majority of group flights are coming into Terminal 2 and Terminal 5. So we'll have staff specifically based in these terminals to greet you just outside of the arrivals. I've put some little photos here just for a frame of reference, but this will be sent out as well, so you'll have this as well, so please don't worry about that. But you can see in Terminal 2, there's a travel service and information desk. That's as soon as you come out of arrivals, that's right out in front of you, and we'll just be based there to the left, and we'll have signage and staff, and we'll be making lots of noise, so you won't be able to miss us. And equally in Terminal 5, they have flags hanging down to the ceilings saying different meeting points, and there's one that says Meeting Point South, and we'll be based just around there. But equally, just to reinforce, as you come out of arrivals, there'll be lots of stuff there in northeastern apparel to greet you and make sure you put on the coaches. If you arrive at Terminal 3, you just need to make your way to Terminal 2, and that's a short walk. That's a 10-minute walk. They're connected, and you'll be meeting us at that same desk, the Travel Service and Information Desk, to join us on the coaches that way. There'll also be a staff member based at Terminal 3 to direct you should you need it as well. Okay, next slide, please, Neve. Thank you. Brilliant. So we will have coaches that take you to the accommodation, which roughly depart around an hour and a half after each group flight lands. We give an hour and a half to give us time to account for any delays, or just as you go through customs and get your bags, and then there'll be a coach that you'll be assigned to your accommodation. And as I said, we'll have staff there getting you on those coaches. If you're not on the group flight and you have completed the independent travel form, then we'll be in contact with you directly about joining us on those coaches. And if you haven't completed that form, then again, there will be some more information coming down the line in terms of when those group flights are and whether we'll be able to accommodate you in and around those coaches. Equally, you may hear from us from the London team as well in terms of reaching out if we haven't got any information from you. So lots of opportunities here for us to kind of touch base with you with regards to that. One thing I absolutely must highlight again is that we do ask that you limit the baggage that you come with, 2 suitcases maximum if possible. The reason we say this is because we want to make sure that we can get everyone and their luggage onto the coaches. If everyone brings lots of luggage, then that limits the space for everyone to be able to get it on the coaches. So please do think of each other when you're packing so that we can have enough space on the coaches to be able to get you across to your accommodation. And I will just say as well that there is, these coaches are just for students. So if parents are joining, we do obviously prioritise students on these coaches to the accommodation. Okay, oh, that should say Saturday the 2nd on the bottom there, my apologies. If you're not traveling with us on the coaches, that's absolutely fine. You do not have to. London has some fantastic transport links, and in particular, Heathrow is extremely well connected. The Underground is a fast and reliable service from all airports, but in particular, Heathrow has the brand new Elizabeth line. This can get you straight from Heathrow Airport to central London within an hour, which is really quite amazing. You can connect to any of the accommodations via Liverpool Street or Whitechapel, and there's roughly a 10-minute walk depending on the accommodation and depending on that connecting station, but it comes straight through to all of those stations, and it really is a fantastic service. Equally, you can get the Heathrow Express. That's a completely valid option. That gets you to Paddington Station in 15 minutes. That's really quick. And then you connect to the tube from there. So it really is a personal preference in terms of what you want to do in terms of specific London travel. But equally, Ubers and taxis are readily available. These take slightly longer just because of London traffic, but obviously they're a more private way for you to get to where you're going. So it's really a personal preference, but lots of availability to travel independently in and around London when you arrive. Fantastic. And I'm going to pass back to Neve.
Brilliant. Thank you, Robin. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about living in London and the Residence Life service and what we offer. So first, a little bit about housing. So students will live with one of the members of their cohort in one of our 6 residence halls across East London. So these include Chapter Aldgate, Chapter Spitalfields, Chapter Old Street, IQ Bulwire, IQ Aldgate and Scape Mile End. All of these accommodation buildings are beautifully kitted out with 24/7 reception, TV rooms, communal spaces, study spaces, mailboxes, and also have a night security team in them. And again, more on kind of what you'll find when you get there. So all rooms have a compact double bed, study areas, closets, and they come with the bedding and also a kitchen pack, which includes basic things that you'll need when you arrive. To note, however, is that towels and bath mats and small appliances and cleaning supplies are not included and will not be there when you get there. So available, we'll have studio rooms in 4 of our buildings. So you can see Chapter Spitalfields, Chapter Aldgate, Chapter Old Street and IQ Aldgate. These come with private rooms and private bathrooms and personal kitchenettes across all of them. But we also have some shared apartment options. These are 2 beds, 4 beds, and ensuite apartments, which range from 6, 7, and 8 people, all of who will be your northeastern London peers. So again, Skate Island and IQ Wyatt, they have the private bedroom and private bathroom and shared kitchen living space. The 2 and 4 beds which have Spitalfields are slightly different. You have private bathroom, bedroom, and a shared bathroom with one other, and then also a shared kitchen space and breakfast bar. Now looking a little bit at residence life and what the residence life team here do. Our main aim is to support you as you transition to living in London, whilst also enabling you to live independently as first-year students here. So we really focus on creating inclusive and supportive communities across all our residence halls, helping you to settle into London, helping you to kind of make the most of the local communities around you, and also to provide and signpost you to the support you need whenever you need it. With that, each student will have a residence life coordinator as a point of contact who provide mentorship and guidance to students in their groups. And so with your residence life coordinator, you'll have monthly one-to-one conversations with them where they get to know you, see how things are going. They can signpost you to resources that we have from other departments and things like that, let you know about events that are going on. So you really get that kind of bespoke support from our coordinators. They are all live-in staff members who man an on-call emergency phone. That students, Northeastern students, are able to call 24/7 if they have an emergency and receive support. You will have webinars with your allocated RLC later in August, so you'll be hearing about that soon. And then finally on Residence Life here, we want to talk about Residence Life events. So we have a really great Residence Life event program, providing events in residence halls for smaller groups to really help build community, and also building wide events so you get to know others in your hall as well as just your kind of RLC group. And these a range of different things, so you'll find something that you really, really enjoy and can really engage with. And then moving on to travel, Robin's already touched on this and how London has a great system. What is amazing is that each of you will be provided with your own personal Oyster card, which gives you free travel in zones 1 and 2, which covers a very substantial portion of London, all of central London. Outside of these zones will require additional costs. When you get here and some of the Residence Life team take you on your local area tours and things like that, they'll tell you a little bit more about how you deal with those extra costs, additional costs. One thing we really, really want to stress is that these Oyster cards are very precious. They're extremely difficult to replace. So you really need to take care of your Oyster card. It's one important takeaway to take from this. And as Robin's already touched on again about public transport, there's the underground, bus and railway, and you can use your Oyster cards on those within central London. You also obviously have available Uber and local taxis or black cabs. Uber is cheaper than local taxis and black cabs. That's something to be aware of. And we also obviously want to point out that taking a taxi is the safer choice if you're out during the night. And something that might be worth downloading before you come is City Mapper. It's a fantastic travel app for London travel. It lets you know kind of how to get from A to B, whether you want to take bus or train or walk. So we really recommend that you get that. So now I'll pass over to Nina.
Thank you very much, Niamh. I'm Dr. Nina Rowland. I'm the Associate Director for Mobility Programs in London. I'm also Assistant Professor of French, and I will talk to you a bit about what it is like to study in London and what you can expect from your academic journey with us in London. Can I have the next slide? Thank you very much. So to start off, I want to give you a few key dates that you can already put down in your agenda. And I want to give you also an overview of the academic program structure. So you will have 14 weeks. That includes 11 teaching weeks, 1 midterm exam week, the autumn break, and 1 final exam week. So I'll go into the details of that. So for the autumn semester, your classes will start on the 11th of September and they will finish on the 15th of December. You will have a midterm exam week, and that's a week when you won't have any normal classes, but you will have some exams. If you have courses that have exams, you might also have some presentations and some other summative assessments. So that's an important week to write down. It's not the week where you can travel, you need to be here. Another important date to write down in your agenda is the autumn break, and that is the week commencing 20th of November. It coincides with Thanksgiving as well. So this week is actually a good time for you if you want to travel around to visit the UK and even Europe if you want. It's also a good time for parents to come and visit students here in London if they want to spend Thanksgiving here. And finally, the week commencing 11th of December will be the final exam week. So again, an important week where you need to be present. And generally speaking, you need to be present until the very last day of the semester on the 15th of December. We usually say that even if you do not have exams scheduled until that very last day, in case something happens, for example, in case you have some exams earlier in the week and there has been an emergency or problem with these exams, you need to be here until the very last day of the semester. And then for the spring semester, when you move on to either Auckland or Boston, they both have the same starting date for their classes, and this is the 8th of January. Can I have the next slide, please? So I also want to talk to you about some key differences between the US higher education system and the UK higher education system. Because although the academic program is completely integrated with the Northeastern Boston curriculum, the courses are also accredited in the UK, which means that there are some differences, especially regarding our regulations and policy for your courses. So I want to briefly mention them, but this is something that we will come back regularly once you are here in London, especially during orientation week. We will go into the details of them. And I will also be here as well as advisors to help you understand all these regulations and policies. So you will have a lot of support around them once you're here. So one of the first differences is around the grading system, which we call the marking system here in the UK. So when you're in London, you will receive a numerical grade, and I think so far so good. However, the scale, and I will show you in a minute what this scale is slightly different from what you might have in mind from the education system that you might be used to if it's outside of the UK. So once you get your assignment graded, you will see a number on your assignment. And then at the very end of the semester, this will be translated into letter grades that will count into your cumulative GPA. So that's the first difference. It's in terms of the grading scale that I will show you. The other one around the grading system is regarding the turnaround time. It takes much longer in the UK generally to get your assignments graded back and to get your feedback as well than what it might take in the US. But there are good reasons for that. It's because once your assignments have been graded by your professors, it actually goes through what we call a moderation process. And this is where another professor will look at the grading to make sure that it has been done in a fair, reliable, and consistent manner across the different sections of courses, for example. So because we have several layers in the grading process, it will actually take several weeks to get your assignments back with your grades. We know that you can be a bit impatient around that, and that's why we want you to understand our grading processes here. The other difference in terms of our policies and regulations is around absences and extensions. So if you are absent for a reason or another, it's always good practice to let your professor know. However, you will also need to fill out an absence form, especially if it's an absence that is a longer absence, so 3 days or longer. And this will be processed by our registry office so that we have it in our records. And this is also important for students who are on a visa, because like that we can cross-check information with visa as well. The other form that you might fill out is when you want to ask for an extension for your assignment. You will also need to send that form to our registry office. So you will not ask your professor directly for an extension. Similarly to, you will not ask them directly for an absence. It's good to let them know of the absence, but it's actually the registry office that will process all this. It's exactly the same for extensions. Everything is centralized at NU London, and everything goes through the registry office instead of asking directly the professors. Again, we will go through the details of that once you're here in London. Can I have the next slide? So this is the famous grading scale where you can see the differences. So on the left column, you can see our Northeastern University London grading scale. So you can see the numbers there going from 0 to 100. You can see the translation into letter grades in the middle, and then you can see the translation into GPA points as well. So you can see that actually here, to get an A, you need to get a 70 or above. And hopefully that might reassure you, because sometimes we have students who, when they receive a grade in their 60s, for example, they are thinking, oh no, I got a terrible grade. When actually, if you get a 65, for example, it's an A minus, so it's not bad at all. So you can see that you might need to do this gymnastic when you're here and when you get your grades. You will have this conversion table uploaded on different places when you're here. So don't worry if you are not taking a picture of it right now. We will give it to you again and again and again so that you can understand how the translation works. Can I have the next slide? Thank you. And then just a few words about what it is like to study in London and what your classroom environment will be like. So you will be typically between 20 and 35 students in a class. Some STEM classes, such as computer science, for example, might have up to 80 students in one lecture, but they would also have labs with smaller groups as well. All your courses will integrate some experiential learning opportunities. That includes, for example, some site visits that can take place during class time or in the evening, or that can be self-guided. It also includes guest speakers, guest lecture that you will be invited to attend. There will be many opportunities to link your courses to experiential learning, and particularly to your first location in London. And we very much encourage you to use London as your classroom. In terms of textbooks and all your course materials, you don't need to worry about this right now. You will know once you arrive here what if you need to buy anything in terms of books, for example, and you will have the opportunity to do so during Welcome Week. But otherwise, usually most of the material is available on Canvas, which is our learning, virtual learning environment, and all the material will be uploaded there. When you're in London, you will also have many opportunities to study, not only at Devon House on our campus, but in different places, different libraries, where you will find resources there as well. And one last thing that I want to mention in terms of what studying in London looks like is the workload. You will usually have 3 hours per course per week. Some courses might have a bit more because they have labs. So it's important that you attend your classes, but it's also important that you study by yourself and that you go to libraries, for example, that you make sure that you're up to date with all your material. So we usually give an idea to say that you should plan around 2 hours of work per contact hour. So if you have 3 hours per week for one course, that would be around 6 hours that you work on your own to make sure that you're up to date, you stay on track with your studies, and that you understand everything. So that's all for me. You will see that once you're in London, I will send you a lot of messages. I will be available as well to meet you if you have any questions regarding the academic side of things, regarding the program, but you will also have your advisors who will be there to help you. And I will now pass it on to academic support and advising.
Hi, I'm Maya Leonard, and I'm here to talk about academic support. So, of course, we provide academic support and advising. Our services include giving guidance on time management, organization, note-taking, and active listening, study tips, academic policies, like how Nina mentioned about the extenuating circumstances, that kind of thing, and much more. We also help students select courses, and we aid in your transition from London to Boston or London to Oakland. While you're in London, your assigned advisor here is your first point of contact contact for all things academic. So please reach out to them first instead of attempting to contact a Boston advisor. Academic advisors are assigned by college, and once you get here for your on-site orientation, you'll learn who is your assigned advisor. The academic support team also includes specialized tutors. So we have a learning differences advisor who specializes in supporting students who are neurodiverse or have learning differences. We also have an English and academic writing advisor. This tutor provides support to students in developing their academic English skills. Throughout the semester, she also hosts a variety of workshops that hone in on academic English skills. Finally, we also have a maths tutor who will be able to provide one-on-one support to any students taking math courses, such as Mathematical Methods 1 or 2 and Calculus for Business. Next slide, Neve. Okay, so just some reminders and information that we want to pass on to you guys. So for transferring credit, whether it be AP, IB, dual enrollment, A-levels, or any other type of transfer credits, you need to report them to Northeastern's Boston team. Please keep in mind that you can only have up to 32 semester/credit hours in transfer credits. Also, this credit will show on your official Northeastern transcript as credit for the NU course equivalent, but without a grade. So essentially, those courses do not affect your GPA. For more information on how to report these credits, please see the email that was sent to you on 18th July from your academic, from the academic email address. And if you want to check that your credit has been received, please email transfercredit@northeastern.edu directly. So for major/course change request, we are not accepting any requests for changes to your course registration at this time. We will be unable to make these changes until the first day of classes, which is the 11th of September. You should all receive the Know Before You Go email either today or tomorrow. And in this email, it includes the information on the policy and procedure on how to request changes to your course schedule, aka add drop. And you can also learn more about the courses you are registered for in that email. It's going to be sent to your Northeastern email address, so please make sure that you're checking that account if you're not already. You should also be receiving an email regarding online enrollment soon. When completing your online enrollment, the courses you are currently registered for will be listed. Moreover, the window to request a major change closed, I think, on the 1st of August. The next opportunity to request a change of major will be during the fall semester through app status check. As for the Scholars Hold, please do not worry about the Scholars Hold. It is just to block you from signing up for courses on Boston's campuses. If you've already filled out your registration form, then there's nothing else that you need to do. And so for schedules, you will receive your official course schedule or timetable during orientation in London. We cannot provide it prior to your arrival. The timetable will show you when and where your lectures and/or labs will take place. And finally, there will be an advisor meet and greet on Wednesday, the 20th of September. Information about this meet and greet will be included in the first mobility newsletter. This will be a great way for you to get acquainted with your assigned advisors before classes get into full swing. And so now I'm going to pass it over to Jade. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am Jade, a student support coordinator from the Student Support and Development team. The student support team are available to support you with a range of matters such as general advice, support with personal issues, mental health advice, disability or learning support, budget and financial advice, and overall to help you navigate your university life. We offer a confidential, personalized information, advice, guidance, and support on anything that is affecting your ability to study or is affecting your mental health and well-being. The teams are able to make referrals into relevant specialist support, such as counseling. Just as you might be aware of FIND at Northeastern, we offer Spectrum Life. For 24/7 student support, Spectrum Life offers a confidential free phone line and online chat function that students can use 365 days a year. We have other mental health resources such as chats, phone numbers, and other organizations, which we will tell you on induction week. Next slide, please. Student support has a range of disability resources. So if you have a mental condition or disability, either mental or physical, or any specific learning differences that may impact your studies, and housing or day-to-day life whilst in London, please contact the London Wellbeing Coordinators at disability@nulondon.ac.uk. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, so I'm going to quickly speak about health insurance and medical concerns and sort of important contacts and things to know about that. And again, you will receive the information about important numbers and things like that when you get here. But to point them out now, the emergency number in the UK is 999. Another one that's quite useful to note is 112. This is the European emergency number, so it can be used anywhere in Europe, including the UK. So it's good to know if you are traveling and you don't know the local number. 111 is another medical line where you can get symptom advice from medical practitioners. So they can advise on whether you need to go to the pharmacy or book an appointment with a doctor, or whether you do need to go to the emergency room. So that's a really useful number to know. And obviously, you might refer to the ER. Here, the ER referred to as A&E in the UK, accident and emergency. When you arrive, the residence life team will talk about nearest hospitals and things like that as well. On travel insurance, all pathway programs must have their own health insurance for the duration of their program. And to this end, we encourage you to bring previous health records for any pre-existing condition or prescription needs while traveling. If you have the original paperwork, it will really help. You may also be aware of GSSN, which is the Global Safety Support Network that Northeastern has, and they can provide 24/7 international assistance on their hotline number. And this can be used for urgent and emergency care coverage whilst you're here in London. And they can also assist you in finding healthcare providers. The bottom point on National Health Service is important to note, because for global scholars, you do not have access to non-emergency NHS care. So this is things like access to GPs, general practitioners, which are a community doctor, but you will be able to have access to the emergency NHS care, which is things like the ER. So that's also important to note. I will now pass it back to Robin to talk about student life.
Thank you very much, Neve. That's great. And guys, thank you for all of the questions that you're putting into the Q&A chat box. We're getting through them as quick as we can. Any particular themes we'll try and pick up at the end of the presentation as well. If I could pop over to the next slide, brilliant, thank you. So student life, here as a team, we're here to help promote student leadership and encourage personal development, and ultimately to provide a calendar of events and activities to help build the Northeastern community whilst you're here in London. We develop lots of out of classroom experiences in terms of experiential learning to help bring together your studies and your experience in London. And we work with the student union here in London, who are also there to help build community and build experiences for you as students whilst you're here on the London campus. So if we pop to the next slide, I'll go into more depth about the student union. So the student union is a very specific London organisation that is in every university across the UK, and they are elected students that are there to be the voice for you and to run societies for you to be able to join and be part of. And ultimately the main thing is for you to be able to reach out to them as a peer-to-peer should you need it, but also join some of the kind of activities that they have running for you. We have so many different societies that they run. These vary from quite a few sporting ones, so football, both male and female football teams, and we have a Taylor Swift society and a debate society and all those things. But what's really exciting when you come to Northeastern University London is that you are automatically enrolled in the student union. So if you feel that there is a society that you like miss or want to be part of, then you can create one. When you're here, you can work with the student union and get that put together. So, you know, they've already had a few ideas coming down the pipeline. So if that's something you want to get involved in, reach out to them. And that's certainly something that you can do. They've also asked me to plug their Instagram, which you can see there. So please do follow and see what they're up to. And they'll also be a big part of our welcome week. And they'll have lots of time for you to be able to come and reach out to them. So please do keep an eye out for our student union during welcome week. As we're talking about welcome week, let me just showcase a few of things we've got going on. This is the overarching structure of the week, but the highlights are very much that we've got a really exciting welcome mixer at All-Star Lanes. This is a really cool bowling alley on Brick Lane, which is a really famous lane in London, in East London. So we can all kind of get to know each other in that mixer early on in the week. We have visits to the London Eye. We've got options to go and see The Lion King in the theatre. We've got a games night at Roofies, which is a really cool venue in Stratford. We have the convocation and orientation, which is the main orientation day on Tuesday, the 5th of September, which is at the Barbican, which is an amazing location and should be a fantastic day. And we also have the welcome fair on campus on the 6th. So when I was talking about the student union, that's where they're going to be, and all the staff will be for you to be able to come and meet them then. And we also have a city bus tour and a boat cruise the first weekend that you hear this, the 9th and the 10th, for you to be able to join. So as you can see, there's lots of different ways for you to kind of go out and see the city in your first week and really start to understand what London has to offer. So we're really excited about that. We do more than just welcome week. We do lots of events and excursions throughout the semester whilst you're here. We've got a few highlights to talk about. We've got more musical theatre, including Wicked and Mamma Mia. We're doing day trips to Cambridge and Brighton and Oxford, which are always amazing opportunities. Harry Potter Studio Tour, Great British Bake Off. We've actually got the Great British Bake Off tent that we'll be going to go to, so that's a good one, and lots of fun activities for you to join. We also have overnight trips. This year we're going to Manchester and Bath, and you'll be able to select an option for one of those locations. We'll be going across 4 weekends, and you can see the dates on the screen now. And in the next few weeks, what will happen is you'll receive a form to fill in, which will ask you to pick your preference on a particular date and a particular location, and you can mix those up on dates and locations if you wish. And then we will do our very best to allocate you to your first preference, and we'll go from there. Equally, you can indicate if you would prefer not to come. It is optional, but very much encouraged, and you will get more information on that in a few weeks' time. Thanksgiving. We are extremely excited about this, and I know that Nina said that Thanksgiving is a time to travel, but we would very much like you to stay in London and come and join us on the boat. We're very, very excited that we've got this fantastic boat on the Thames. I believe it's the first carbon neutral boat in the UK, I think. But we've got a fantastic night. The president is joining us. It's a 3-course meal, and it really will be a special evening. We will send more information on this as we get closer into the term, but we just wanted to put it in your brains now in terms of it is happening, and if you would like to stay in London and join us, we would very much like you to do so. And finally, last slide from us before we get to more Q&As. So we just wanted to kind of give you an overview of upcoming communication so you can see what's coming. As Maya mentioned, we've got an email coming out which will either be today or early tomorrow, in terms of just an overview of information for you, which gives you some instructions on the fact that there will be some communications coming down the line. And that includes registration credentials for London. And that is an area in which you'll upload a photo for your pass and things like that. So do keep an eye out on that one. That's really important. The Welcome Week schedule will be released as the one I showed earlier to you very shortly. Room allocations coming very soon. We know you're all anxious to hear. I am going to reinforce the deadline of the Visa Google form, and I know Catherine's going to jump in a second about that. But the 11th is the deadline for the Visa Google form. We also have housing webinars from August 21st with your family group and your RLCs. So please do get involved in that. That's meet and greet. And we will be in touch closer to the end of August with more specific information on your specific timings in Welcome Week. So that will be coming as well. And the final thing I just wanted to tell you is that we do a mobility newsletter. So that's a newsletter which we do every 2 weeks whilst you're here with us in London, which provides an overview of what's going on campus, the events and activities to keep an eye on, and reminders on how to sign up to the events and activities. And that will happen every 2 weeks. But the very first one is September 1st. So just to kind of make you aware that that's coming and to look out for that. That's great. So we've reached the end of the presentation slides, but we can certainly jump in with some questions. Let's have a little look here. Oh, Catherine, I know we wanted to just touch base on the Google form and clarification on whether or not they needed to fill out the Google form if they were on group flights. Is there any more clarification we can have on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So students who are on group flights don't need to complete the Google form requesting for flight information. It's purely for students who are considered independent travelers, so those who are not going on group flights.
There we go. That's great. Thank you so much, Catherine. That's fantastic. So we've got a couple of questions here. So we've had a couple of questions in terms of if parents can visit, can join on the boat for Thanksgiving. Now, as it currently stands, it is just students, but we understand that there are lots of parents going to be in London around that time. It's just students for now, but should that change, we will let you know closer to the time, but we want to ensure as many students can join us as possible. And there's a question here on how much the Thanksgiving boat cruise costs. It's part of the program fee. Fantastic. Okay, let's just have a look at these questions here. Let's have a look. Still a little lost on what to pack. Don't worry at all. There's an email coming out. It's either going to be today or at the very latest tomorrow morning. And there's a packing guide included in that. There's also been a recent Instagram post as well. What I will say, and what we talked a lot about in the pre-departure orientation last month, is please, please, please don't worry about packing. The main thing is that you bring yourself, your passport, ability to get money, a phone, but everything else, you know, you can, and your visa if you need it. Everything else you can get here. You know, we've got lots of accessible shops. You can get things ordered on Amazon. We'll do excursions to IKEA and to Westfield, which is a local mall. So there's lots of ways to be able to get things if you forget it or you didn't realize or think about needing it. So please don't worry about that. Equally, I know we've touched on a lot about you know, electricals and what's provided. A real top tip from me is due to the kind of the conversion of voltage for things like hair straighteners and hair dryers, it's just not worth bringing your US one because it will be struggled to be used. Just buy a cheap one when you're here. It will just be easier and it'll be stronger. It'll work better. So that's my kind of top tip on that. Let's look at these questions. Anyone also in the London team, feel free to jump in if there's a particular question you can answer.
There is a question I would like to answer. Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Green, Head of Resident Services. This is on health insurance. I've seen a lot of questions about sort of how to get health insurance, what the best options are. If you are a US national, most students will have access to health insurance plans through their sort of parents' sort of working insurance. As a first port of call, contact those guys, make sure you have a full understanding of what your coverage in the UK would look like through that plan. A lot of students will find that their coverage will extend to the UK and won't cause any problems. And if you are required to then purchase an extension, there are plenty of sort of independent health insurance providers who will be able to get you sort of smaller, cheaper plans than you might necessarily find through your health insurance provider. It gets very individual, so if anyone does encounter any particular problems, just send student support on our side an email, and they'll be happy to assist with more details. But that's a good overview. Then a second question I had was activities on September the 3rd. So September the 3rd for Global Scholars is a very important day. It's the day that you'll be enrolling into the university, so it is vital that students have moved in on September the 2nd.
Thank you, Matthew. Just having a little look here. So there's been quite a few questions on group flights and whether or not you are allocated to a group flight. What I will say is that it would be worth contacting the Global Scholars email address, the globalscholars@northeastern.edu, as they book the flights through their the Advantage Travel Company on their end, so they can help you cross-reference with that. As I would want to make sure you get the kind of the right response from them. And there's a few more questions on the Welcome Week schedule. So the overarching schedule is coming in an email very, very soon, and then your individual times will be slightly closer to the end of August, but the structure of the week will be sent to you perhaps later today or tomorrow morning. Also, please do keep these really important questions coming, but if anyone's got slightly kind of more nuanced questions on London or any particular questions on things that we've got going on in London or what we do in London, please do ask us those as well if you would like. Question on whether or not you can rewatch this webinar. We are recording it and we will be sending it out, so please do not worry about that. Just a few more questions. In terms of the address for the school for parents who are traveling, we can, in fact, Neve, could you just go one slide across? Oh, sorry, just to the very end. There's the address. So that's the Devon House address there. And then obviously, depending on where they're staying, will be at the specific accommodation provider. Although that does say London Scholars. So are there storage rooms in the residence halls for large items? You will, in terms of storage space, you've just got the rooms that you've allocated. So again, we're going back to the please don't bring too much piece, because you will need to be able to ensure that it kind of fits into the space that you have. Like my thought process is kind of one big suitcase and then something that can be stored into the other suitcase, so you're kind of saving space. That's kind of a recommendation on my end. We've got a couple of questions, Matthew, on people coming to stay at the accommodations. Is that something that we can answer?
Yes. What is the exact question? Sorry, Robin.
There's a question on how does visiting dorms work for parents or friends?
So as standard, students are allowed guests within the residence halls, but we do not encourage the use of those. There are restrictions based on individual residence halls, which we can share with students during sort of later information sessions and after arrival. Siblings very much encouraged to stay with us. That's not a problem at all. Parents, we tend to find stay in sort of local hotels and things like that. It just makes for a better living experience for you and your student.
Thank you for that. We've had a few questions on SIM cards. As Neve said in the presentation earlier, there's lots of different options and it really is a personal preference. We do provide a SIM card upon arrival, which is what's called a gift gaff, which is the company SIM card, which the students can, which you as students can use straight away to kind of be able to contact your family should you want to, or anything like that. However, we're equally aware that lots of people have international plans or have kind of sought out their own SIM card that they would like to kind of use as well. So it is a personal preference, but we do have one that you can use straight away should you want to. Just looking through these questions, coming through thick and fast. The SIM card is free. Yes, it's just part of the welcome pack, and it's completely if you want to use it. Yeah. Sorry, guys, just looking through these questions. So a question on during welcome week, will it be full days of activities or will you get some free time? You will absolutely get some free time. There's some very important mandatory elements. So that would be, as Matthew said, with the arrival on the 2nd, the 3rd is a very important day in terms of the enrolling at Devon House, but that will not take all day, that you'll be given a time slot for that. And then equally Tuesday the 5th, for the mandatory orientation sessions, that is a full day. But everything else, there's the kind of small pieces of things for you to do, but there's certainly lots of time for you to be able to utilize yourself should you wish. We've tried to make it as fluid as we can for you, so you can join lots of things if you want to, and equally if you don't want to, you need a bit more space, you can do that as well.
I'm just going to jump in again on laundry. So all residence halls have full laundry facilities, but these do come at a charge. You're not going to find sort of cheaper laundry facilities in local laundromats or anywhere else. So that really is sort of the best option. And it was also the closest and most convenient. So laundry is provided within the halls, but at a charge.
Thank you, Matthew.
Oh, another question on dorms as well. There is 24/7 Wi-Fi access within the dorms. The Wi-Fi is not restricted in any way.
Catherine, there's a few questions here about being on an SVV and whether or not they're able to get jobs or volunteer. Is there anything that we can clarify with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, on a standard visitor visa, which all students will be on, regardless if you have to apply for one prior to traveling or not. So even if you're a US national and you're going through the e-gates, you're considered a visitor in the UK. You do not have working rights while you are in the UK on the Global Scholars Program. This extends to internships or any unpaid work that's still considered working. So that's not allowed by any students on the Global Scholars Program.
Thank you.
I've had another series of questions about whether it's possible to change rooms or if there's a roommate conflict or anything else. Unfortunately, we cannot change rooms in advance of students' arrival. So the room assignment that you receive, hopefully by the end of this week, will be fixed until September. If after arrival there is a significant sort of conflict between roommates or anything else, then the Res Life team are there to sort of help mediate those conflicts and provide support wherever we can. We have a very good record of resolving those things. Fundamentally, all students are coming here with a lot of sort of similar shared goals. But that is something that we can provide support with afterwards on a case-by-case basis if absolutely needed. I will also say that, because I've seen some questions about sort of check-in and preferences, most students have been assigned one of their top 3 residence halls. The only times where that hasn't happened is when there's been some other factors at play, or if students didn't fill out the housing preferences form. So most students we expect to be happy with the housing assignments, at least compared to what they submitted on the preference form. In terms of check-in and arrival, if students are arriving independently, i.e. not on our sort of group flight coaches, check-in at the residence halls is anytime from 8:30 till 4:30, but we do recommend arriving in that sort of 10 till 2 slot, just so you're hitting in sort of the core of that day. There's no reason to get up particularly early on that day.
Not if you don't have to, no.
Not if you don't have to.
There's a couple of questions on cash and whether or not we'll give any, if we can provide help converting cash. And I just wanted to kind of touch on the point of cash in London. So London is increasingly a cashless city, and a lot of places do use cards, some of them exclusively cards, or Apple Pay or things like that, just to be able to transfer money electronically. That's not to say you shouldn't bring cash if you want to. You certainly can, but I wouldn't bring a lot, as it's, you know, as times have changed, it's just less needed. And especially the kind of all of the transport in London. So even the buses, it's completely cashless. You have to be able to have a contactless card or an Oyster card to use things like that. So just bear that in mind when you're thinking about what you need to bring. I'm going to throw out, because we're plugging away on some of these questions, and some of them are we're getting through as many as we can. But whilst we're doing this, I am going to throw out a question to my London staff in terms of, has anyone got any kind of a day in the life, or like a kind of a particular thing that you like doing in London that you'd like to share with the students to kind of get them excited? Because we can talk about SIM cards and laundry all day if you want us to, but we've also got lots of tips as well.
Hi, Robin. I thought about this and I have one to share.
Excellent, thank you.
No problem. So a really great day out for me is going to the Victoria and Albert Museum. It's really, really big. I've been there about 4 or 5 times now and still have not seen everything that they have. So that's one of my favorite places to keep going back to. But after I go to the V&A, I like to head to Edgware Road. It is a really big road and there are lots of Middle Eastern restaurants on that road. I love going to this Lebanese place and getting, I think, the world's best shawarma there. So that is my perfect day out in London.
Thank you so much, Maya. That's great. And I would agree with all of it. Thank you. I'm gonna talk about the sorts of things that I like doing whilst I've got you all here. For me, I'm particularly interested in music and live performance, seeing as many live performances as I can. So London is pretty much one of the best cities, I think, to do that. And we've got some amazing venues from the very small to the very big, which you can certainly utilize whilst you're here. And for me, one of the most amazing venues in London is the my brain's gone. Victoria and Albert arena, stadium. It's completely gone from my brain, but effectively it's amazing and beautiful, and you can see lots of live orchestras with film screenings. So I've seen like Jaws with a live orchestra there, and things like that. So that's particularly unique to London, and that's the sort of thing that I like doing. But we'll get back to the other questions. have a look here. So we've got a question here of whether or not there's a cafe on campus where we can buy lunch. There is a small coffee shop within campus which you are able to buy pastries and sandwiches and coffee. It's also we're incredibly lucky. We're incredibly lucky with our location here at Devon House. It is genuinely the walls of the building hit the Thames, and we've got the most amazing view. And St Catherine's Dock has so many options for you, including you know, a smaller kind of grocery store, but also coffee shops and restaurants. And everything that you can need just on campus, let alone the wider kind of East London, in which it really is the most amazing area of London in terms of what's on your doorstep. So there's lots to explore. Oh, I've got a really good question here. What's the best way to get tickets for sporting events like Premier League soccer games? Okay. We will tell you right now, it is quite hard to get tickets to Premier League football. It's just an incredibly popular thing to do. We may be going to the football. That's for you to kind of read your newsletters and find out. So that's certainly something that we will be looking at. But individually, you would need to seek out the specific team that you're after. To be able to get tickets through them. But there's lots in London for you to be able to kind of investigate. Have a look. Do we need to learn to cook to survive in London? Excellent question. So I think what we would always say is it doesn't hurt to learn a few basic recipes, but you know, as surviving UK students who had to cook for ourselves whilst we were here, we, you know, I can very much guarantee you can get by on very minimal cooking skills. Just it doesn't hurt kind of doing a few little you know, learn to boil water for pasta. That's a good piece of advice. But no, honestly, we've got a student cookbook that we're putting together, which is students that have previously been on the program and kind of recipes that they've thought of and come up with when they've been here. You obviously all live in close proximity to each other, so there will always be, there are students that know how to cook, there will be students who can help each other, and we also have coordinators as well that live in the residences, so they equally, I think, feed themselves, so they will help. Matthew, do you have any thoughts on that one?
The only thing I just wanted to add and just clarify for absolute certainty is there is no meal plan in London, so students are, you know, no food is required, is provided to you by Northeastern University directly. We will be providing at least one hot meal on September the 2nd and potentially on September the 3rd, just to make sure that students have, you know, as gentle a landing as possible. That'll be provided in your residence hall. But beyond that, yeah, you are required to source your own food, unfortunately. We also had a very good question on where is a good place to buy sort of necessities and sort of appliances and things like that when you first arrive. Apart from sort of the standard sort of Amazon, the company that I personally would recommend most is Argos, ARGOS. They provide same-day delivery for a lot of things. They're a quite established UK company and have, you know, really quite a wide range of sort of items. It is similar to a Target. The stores themselves aren't large, so it's not a Target sort of store experience, but look them up. You'll be happy with what you see. And just a final thing, because I've seen this come up in the chat a few times, there is no air conditioning within the halls. However, temperatures do not get high enough in the UK for that to be a necessity. So I wouldn't worry about the lack of air conditioning. We've never had it in the UK. We've never really felt a need for it.
I was going to touch on this point as well, because there's a few questions on what it's like in fall in London, what fall is like in London, and the AC questions. So I mean, we're in August and it's not hot. We haven't needed air conditioning, but there are quite a few tubes that have air conditioning, and some stores have air conditioning, but housing in London, in the UK, doesn't have air conditioning. But in terms of fall overall, in terms of what the weather will be like, it may get cold, but perhaps not as cold as you would expect. So layers, that's why we always encourage layers. And it will almost certainly at times be rainy. So a good raincoat it will be needed. But again, that's not necessarily something you need to bring. You can kind of investigate the stores whilst you're here to see the types of kind of raincoats that are on offer and what you might kind of want to suit the temperature that you're existing in, rather than kind of guess. So that's kind of my thought on that.
For this September through December period, imagine you're going somewhere similar to sort of New Jersey, Seattle, somewhere like that. The weather's not going to get too hot. It's not going to get too cold. You're very unlikely to see snow. So it's that sort of area that you want to be sort of imagining you're going to.
Exactly. And we call it autumn here. So hopefully we can persuade you of our ways. Oh, someone's saying there's going to be a heat wave when they arrive. Maybe.
So that too.
No, it doesn't get, there's a question again. So continuing on the weather theme, humidity is not high here. So a light raincoat will be fine. But honestly, like having a kind of, having a raincoat, bringing a raincoat is completely valid. But equally, if you feel that that's not sufficient, then you can either kind of get one sent or you can buy one when you're here. So that's not a problem at all. And you can't, so there's, I've opened a can of worms on coats. I'm sorry, guys. You are more than welcome to bring a winter coat. It will get cold in December, but just not, we just don't get like very cold, certainly not that side of the year. So it's more likely to get colder in January and February than it is December. So a kind of a medium winter coat, if that's a thing. But again, layers is the way. I can see someone's just asked if joined the webinar a little late and whether or not we're going to share it. Just to reinforce, we will be sharing this afterwards. So please do not worry, it's being recorded, it will get shared. Let's have a little look.
Hi, Robin. Can I just answer a few questions regarding the schedules? Because we had a lot of questions about what's the earliest time classes start, what's the latest. So just to clarify a few things around that. So as we said, you will have your schedule once you are in London during a welcome week. So you will know all the details of it. Each course typically meets twice per week. So if you have 4 courses, you will meet for each course 8 times per week. The earliest class starts at 9 a.m. and the latest one will start at 5 p.m., which means that it can end at 6:30 and even 7 p.m. for some labs. So that's the range around which you can have your classes. Of course, it doesn't mean that every day you will have 9 a.m. classes or every day you will finish at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., but that's the range that you can have in mind for now. And that includes Monday morning, because I had a question, are there 9 a.m. Monday morning classes? Yes, there are. And there are also some Friday late afternoon classes.
Thank you, Nina, that's great. So let's just have a little look at these last few questions whilst we wrap up. Oh, there have been continued questions on the SIM cards and whether or not these are e-cards. They are physical SIMs, and I know that there are some phones that don't let you change those. So if you have got a phone that requires an eSIM, then do investigate in terms of whether or not you would want to work with your provider to get an international plan, or alternatively, whilst you're here, you can buy you know, a pay-as-you-go phone to have a UK number whilst you're here, that's certainly an option. And with that, you can use the SIM that we provide, or you can use an alternative. But it's a physical SIM that we provide, not an eSIM. And also just to clarify on the point of the eSIM cards as well. So these are SIMs to kind of get you going. So they'll have maybe a little bit of money on for a call, but they are not plans for your time here. So you'd need to investigate a pay-as-you-go plan on these for yourselves individually. They're not paid for the month, or for the semester, sorry. Just going through the questions. So questions on weekend classes. So they're not specifically weekend classes, although Nina can clarify me on that. There's not weekend classes, but there might be trips or excursions on the weekend that you are optionally welcome to join. So for example, the overnights will be on a weekend, and the day trips will be on a weekend. So we don't book day trips and overnight trips across your schedule. So we don't interrupt your academics. Go on, Nina.
No, yeah, exactly. And you might have also optional co-curriculars activities. So co-curriculars are usually linked to the learning outcomes of your courses. But if they are suggested in the weekend, it's completely optional. So you don't have to worry about attendance during the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a question here on whether or not you're able to travel on a weekend. You are absolutely able to travel on a weekend. That is fine. We do day trips and overnight trips to kind of give you an opportunity to travel with us, but you're certainly able to travel whilst you're here. Obviously, London and the UK are at an advantage of being kind of in a central kind of connection hub spot for lots of different places within Europe. So yeah, there's lots of places you can go if you wish. Let's have a little look, see. So a question here on whether or not we have clubs in London. So when I was talking about societies earlier for the student union, that's the sort of thing that we would have. If you have a specific one in mind, i.e. marketing or international business, then and we don't have it, then that's certainly something that you can work with the student union to develop. I know that there is, for example, there was a group of students this year that wanted to set up a robotics club. And not only were we able to do that, but we've been working with them to transition that to Boston for their continued time in Boston as well as keeping it going here. So we're really trying to build out these societies to kind of follow through with you as you go. So yeah, do investigate the student union when you're here. So there's a question here on whether or not we need to bring formal clothes. So there's not specific events. Formal is kind of an interpretive term. We don't have any kind of events that would be black tie, I should say. But there may be events that you might want to bring an outfit to dress a little bit formally. So things like we have a welcome ball and the Thanksgiving boat, maybe you would want to, but that's personal preference. And we don't have mandatory dress codes in that same way. So, but again, see what your peers are doing, and there's options to kind of explore London shopping when you're here. So I really, one of the biggest take homes I want to say today is please don't overpack. You really don't need to. When I did my year abroad, I went with one but came back with 2 suitcases. I think that's the better way to do it for me. Personal choice.
Robin, can I just come in on that? That when you arrive, there will be like local area tours run by the Residence Life team, and they'll point out important shops And your allocated residence life coordinator will be someone who will be able to offer advice on where to go to get certain clothes or certain appliances and things like that. So, you know, you'll immediately have contact with someone who will be able to give you advice on that as well, and point out where things are and give you a sense of things. So just don't worry.
Thank you, Neve. That's great. Just looking at these last few questions, please do someone jump in for the last few if there's any that jump out to you. Yeah. So lots of questions on the clubs and societies. Please do we don't need to, please do reach out to the student union when you're here, and we can kind of get the ball rolling on those. But in terms of, there's a really good question in terms of if there's teams that you wanted to seek out outside of the university. London do have lots of sports teams that you can look into if that's something that you were interested in, if that's not something that we provide. But that's certainly something that we can help you with when you're here. So we'll continue to plug away at these questions, but a lot of them we will answer with you individually. Last chance for the last few questions, if anyone has any. Fabulous. Okay, so just a kind of summary of next steps. So as mentioned, you will be receiving an email which is an overall guidance of the communications that are coming to your Northeastern email address. So please do keep checking that Northeastern email address. Lots of things coming down the pipeline on that, but this email will give you an overview of what to expect and what's coming. It does also include a packing list. It does also include information on visa documentation and academic support, as well as the relevant contact information on who to reach out to. Do reach out to that globalscholars@northeastern.edu email address, specifically if it's questions on group flights and things, because that's very much related to the flights that they have booked. But equally, you know, we're here to support you in London, and we've also sent out the email addresses for the specific teams in relation to student life and academic support. So do feel free to reach out to us, and we'll either help you if we can, or we'll signpost you to the relevant department. And that will be that for us for now. We honestly, it's very weird talking to a screen and I can't kind of feel your report, but we are so excited for you to join us. Truly, the month will fly by, and we'll see you on the 2nd of September. Thank you very much, guys. Just stop this.